Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everybody. We are here because everyone has a story. And I firmly believe when you hear others' stories, it inspires you. It puts things into perspective. It gives you just a different view. We're going to talk with somebody who has, like all of us, a story that led her to helping people as a life coach. And, some of us think who are coaches, I want to be a life coach. I want to help people. People always say I've got good advice and things like that. That's her, but there's much more to that story. And she is Jessica Niss. She joins us on the program today. How are you doing?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
Very well. And I want to go to the name of your practice, Selah, LLC.
Yes.
Which means, if I remember correctly, to pause.
Yes, to pause. And one of the important things that comes with pausing is that we have a chance to really take a good look at what is good. What is good for me? What is good for the other person? A pause creates people to kind of turn an ear in sometimes. When someone stops talking, they lean in. So a pause is so important. My business was created, and the catalyst to my business was that my son Eric John had been serving in Okinawa, Japan, and he worked for the Marine Corps, and he loved the water his whole life. Was one of the it was one of the things that made him feel the most alive, was being in the water. And ultimately it was the thing that ended his life, was the water. And in the Marine Corps, they are taught, so many different ways to battle and go, live beyond themselves, things that they didn't think that they could do. So if you will, risk taker, you got to be a little bit of a risk taker if you're a Marine. And but one of the things that Eric John, his whole life, would do, because we talked about it, was I would always tell him to practice a pause, whether that was emotional reactions, whether that was choices that he was making. And so when he was in Okinawa and he was telling me about wanting to, explore the ocean, which he had done before in his life, I talked to him about practicing a pause, and he always assured me with the same honesty and respect that he talked to me his whole life that he was. The day that he went out in that water, it was from the ocean expert that I know in Japan, Eric John had the capabilities, the tools to be able to be in that water that day. But the turn of events, the way that the weather turned, caught him unaware. So 2 years after Eric John died, I was contacted by the Marine Corps in Okinawa and asked if I would come out and talk to the Marines as a mom. And it was a big yes. I mean, I believe very, very much that with everything, there can be light, even in that darkness. So being able to connect with these Marines. And when they asked me to come out, they said, we would like for you to talk to them about safety, ocean safety. And because it is getting to the time between Memorial Day and Labor Day, they call that the 101 critical days of summer. That's when you're going to find the most people in the water. And so I came out, and I didn't know anything about ocean safety, but I did know about being a mom. Yeah. So wow. I was asked to talk to them, and I talked to I talk twice a day, one at 8 o'clock in the morning, one at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I presented 13 times while I was in Okinawa in those 2 weeks.
I knew your journey took you there when he was missing.
Yeah.
And then I believe it's on your website too that you did go back a few years later. And I wondered
Yes.
what that was for. Now it
Yeah.
becomes crystal clear.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that they wanted you to speak as a mom.
Yeah.
What were they looking to get from you?
So it's interesting that you asked that, Steve, because they never once told me what they wanted me to say. They just asked the big ask. They said, "Would you come out?" And I said, "Yes." And so I am a mother of many children, and so where I'm at is where I am. Okay. And so and at that point in my mothering, losing Eric John, I only had my tank was only so big for energy. And so I knew that when it came time to knowing what I was going to say to these guys, that I didn't have to stress about that. I would just it would realize. And so actually I had that 12 and a half hour flight to Tokyo, and that is when I wrote the little tidbits of what I was going to say. And basically I just went up there and I told them how important they are, and that their choices are important, and that as moms, they matter.
What you say, sadly, many parents don't.
Yes.
And I'm not throwing any parents under the bus.
No,
You
no,
get busy, you assume your kid knows it, but they need to hear it.
they do. And so I made sure that over and over again, they understood that they mattered and that their choices matter. And so it's interesting enough, when I went there, that was going to be a one and done. But before I left, the expert team that I worked with for safety, the safety experts and the ocean experts, had said, we have yet to have this critical training have such an impact, right? So you
Wow.
talk about life and you talk about intent and impact. Their intention was to get the Marines' attention by saying, okay, here's a mom up on stage. This is different than what we've ever done before. The intent was so that perhaps they would catch a little bit more of the safety briefs, ones that they just had to check the box off of,
Yeah.
But the impact was so much greater than what they thought was going to happen. So they just asked me, "Hey, would you put yourself in line to doing more of this?" Because when I went there, Steve, I had used all of my PTO from the hospital. I work at the hospital. I can only ask for so much time off of work, but they had seen what had happened there and they wanted me to travel around. And that's what happened is I took that opportunity, came back, gave it a couple of thoughts. And you know what, Steve, I'd worked for the same hospital for over a decade, full time, Monday through Friday. And I just felt like it was this purpose being filled. There's some purpose out of the pain. And so I put myself in line to be able to be contracted from the Marines. I have flown to Hawaii and I've done critical training down there and been in that. A few of the commanders has said, what you talk about is right in line with suicide prevention too. And I never thought about that, but all we really want, Steve, is to know that we matter and that what we are and who we are matters. And I never gave that a thought. So that's the catalyst to how this all began. And as far as Selah LLC, one of my very good friends, I when I got back from Japan, I said, now they want me to do this. I should probably, open up an LLC. And they said, Selah. They said, that means pause. Your whole presentation is about pausing. And that's where it took off. So,
Okay. Wow. We've talked before, never
yeah,
realized how all the pieces came together here.
yeah,
And if you ask any coach, counselor, therapist, they will all say the number one thing that we all deal with, whether we realize it or not,
right.
it's in our subconscious, comes from, and I do podcasts on subconscious all day long.
Yeah,
It's been programmed in us because of situations from childhood, majority, but they'll tell you it's, I'm not good enough.
yes.
I'm not good enough.
Or I'm not enough.
Or I'm not enough. Right.
Whatever you're doing, you're not enough. And that's that is
It's
going to
crazy
impact
how,
what you go for. Yeah.
and that could come from something that your mom or dad said.
Right.
And it just was a passing comment. And it could have been you did a painting 5 years old, and mom or dad looked at it, and you made the sky green. And they say, "What? It's beautiful, but we know the sky's not green. Yeah,
Yes.
we know it's not." And they're saying that because they don't want you to get made fun of.
Right.
But then this comment, you could do better than
They
that.
feel reserved then, like we were talking about before, the intent versus the impact, right?
Yes, the
They weren't
intent.
intended
Right, the
to
intent was
make you feel less.
right. I don't want
what
my
you-
kid being made fun of because the sky is
Yes.
green. Just want to let you know, like, if you're going to bring that to school, kids might say something, and
Right. And you're trying to protect them.
You're trying to protect them.
And you're thinking, but
Yeah.
the impact. So one of the biggest things that I took away from being able to be in the same space as all of these, I mean, the Marine Corps, they're the first, right? Because they'll get it done. And you've got all of these individuals that pour in and pour in and pour in and probably don't get a whole lot of feedback, right? As far as how good they're doing.
yes,
And and one of the things
Wow.
that I took away from all of that, was how much when I would get done talking, and the crew that I was working with wasn't expecting this either. You'd get this a whole lineup of Marines, and they got 2 or 3 seconds in line, and they'd come up to me and they'd give me their where they were at that point, saying, ma'am, thank you so much for coming. This is what has happened to me. You made me feel like I'm heard. You made me feel like, and every single one of them had a different story, how what I said may have impacted or had them reflecting on something. And my whole point of saying this is everybody comes into a space with a lot of stuff from before, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you never know what you say or even how you act or how you even acknowledge could impact that person. So I think it's so important to take that pause and say hello, or to give the smile,
Yes.
or just to even say hey, because people just want to know that this big world, that they have a place in it, just even a little tiny space in it.
Love everyone.
Yes.
That's how I pilot. I didn't make this up, but
Yes.
this is my mantra. I just said it to somebody on the phone an hour and a half ago in a situation. Love everyone, trust few. Unfortunately, in my journey,
Yes.
I have to say that. It's sad, but
Right.
you gotta, be careful and
You do.
always do the right thing
Yes.
for all. We can say, I did
Yes.
the right thing for yourself, but for the
Right.
greater good. But the love everyone, you can go into Starbucks and the barista could be there and the coffee tastes really good. Say
Yes.
it. Just say, I don't know what you
Say
did,
it.
but it tastes amazing. By the way, your hair looks great.
Yes.
Be genuine,
Right.
though, that you mean it. But
Yes.
you don't know
Yes.
what kind of day they're having. You could have saved their life and not even know it.
You didn't even know it. And, one of the things that I encourage my kids to do, no matter what it is, whether they're borrowing something, whether they're visiting somewhere, whether they're just at their everyday going to school, is leave a space better than what you came into it.
Mm.
Leave it better. Even if maybe you found that the classroom, the chairs were a little bit disheveled, go just straighten things up a little bit before you leave, especially your chair,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or people. Leave them better than what
For
even
sure.
you just, like you said, Steve, you nailed it. You just give them a little smile, a little compliment. It doesn't take anything from you. It doesn't take anything from you.
But we're afraid because of
Yeah,
society.
I
Because you
know.
don't want to be viewed as a creeper. You don't want to be
So
like, it's
true,
sad.
true. No.
It's so sad. But if we can start breaking that mold, I'll hold the door for anyone. And then somebody will be, oh, don't. I'm going to be a second. I'm like, I don't care.
I've got a second.
I've got a
Yeah.
second. Even if I don't, I
Yes.
do. Because, and I still remember even the little tiny things in a grocery store 2, maybe 3 years ago. There was a woman on a scooter trying to reach to get some frozen food. And I did leaps and bounds over displays so I could get there and help her. And I
I
still
love it.
remember it. And I even said, I'll go with you if you want. I'll help you pick stuff out. I don't mind. I was doing it for her, but guess what? I was doing it for me too, because it just feels
Yeah,
good.
it does feel
And I'm
good. It
talking
does
about it
feel
3 years
good.
later. I still remember it. I want
And
to,
I know she remembers it. I mean, yeah,
maybe
yeah,
maybe I've run into her and not even known. I just remember the scooter
right,
lady in frozen
right.
foods. I want to go to the pause because since I met you and thought about the pause in life in general, it's so important in every way.
It is. It
Think
is.
about it.
You know, yeah. There is no regret in a pause. There can be a lot of regret if you don't pause, whether it's something that you lash out because you're feeling emotional, or you make a decision that, yeah, you can say you're sorry for, but you've just closed off the access now to that relationship. And
Yeah.
so a pause is so important.
Let's look at the different layers of pause. The one you're talking about,
Okay.
uh, I try to put it through the 3 filter, whether
Okay.
somebody's triggered you, you're angry, whatever
Yeah.
it might be. Before you send the text, before you make the phone call, before you send the email, whatever it might be, pause
Yes.
and think, is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? If it
Right.
doesn't fit all 3, don't do it,
That is so important. That is
right?
so right. Yes.
And then another layer of the pause. This is just my view. Correct me or
Yeah.
whatever.
No.
The pause in a different situation is allowing you to use this wonderful power and gift you were given, all of us, called intuition.
Yes.
So if you sit there and let me hold on a minute, let me think about this. What's the right way to go? Choice A, choice B. Listen,
Yes.
but you can't do that unless you pause.
You cannot. And it's funny because if you're at a stop sign and you've got a throughway, so stop, stop, throughway.
Yep.
If you stop, you've stopped your car, right? But if you don't look both ways, if you don't pause to make sure that that car is actually going to be turning, do they have their blinker on because they're actually turning, or is it stuck on? All of those different scenarios, when you
Yeah.
pause, even though you're doing the right thing, right? You're stopping at the stop sign. You're giving yourself that extra space to be able to really make a good decision. Really make a good decision. And I love your 3 filters, Steve, as far as, is it kind, is it true, and is it
I
necessary?
try to remember it. And I was
That's
it's like, and
good stuff.
I fail sometimes. I'm going to tell you,
Oh,
sometimes it's, I press send. But
yep.
another layer of the pause would be when you're in a situation, pause and take a deep breath. and hold it and let it out. That's the pause as well. The pause is everything.
It is everything.
It really is. The more
really
I
is.
think about it, it's so impactful. It can prevent bad situations.
Yes.
We don't do it. And more than ever, Jessica, we have crazy lives, multiple jobs, multiple screens, all of it's going on that inhibits the pause, doesn't allow us to do it.
It's interesting because the momentum of the day can be set so that, and you and I are made the same. Our brains, our other people, our colleagues, usually once we thought of something, we almost want it done almost immediately, right? Like
we're programmed that way.
We're programmed that way. Like we think it should just be done.
This is what I call, I just want to interject here because this is my view. We are living in an Amazon world.
We are.
Press button in most areas. It's here by 3 p.m. It's like, I need it now. Great. Press. And you don't have to do anything. You press a button. That's it. A lot of us don't even pause before we do that. And maybe we regret the purchase.
Well,
we're programmed.
And even in relationships, when you're talking to someone, I look at like the parent-child, when you've asked them to do something, or even spouses ask them to do something, you already know that you want it done in your head, and it's not, and it's something that changes with your tone. So your tone is now changed of, for instance, you know that your laundry basket was supposed to be up here this morning, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The way you say it is, now you want them to know that you mean it, but at the same time, do you want them to feel like the worst person in the entire world? So you pause and you're like, how important is this laundry versus how my child
is going to
knows
feel
that I see them, and how they feel.
Yeah.
And so the
That's
pause
true.
is so important with tone, because yes, we want it done, but how important are they versus what it is that you're requesting?
This is so important.
It is.
The pause movement is huge, because even in your example right there, the laundry basket, the way you deliver it, it's almost as if you're asking your kid to bring the basket down or up or whatever it might be, it's almost as if you're saying it as it's done or should have been done. Even though you may just be saying it for the first time. Hey, by the way, when you get a chance, bring that basket down. It's the intention that you put into it. And if you were to pause, the
impact would have been different.
The delivery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's so important. And, we do get rushed, and we do tend to feel like I just don't have time for that. But Steve, we always have time to say hello, and we always have time to give a smile. They're fractions of a fraction of a second, and you never know what kind of impact that has for that person.
You've had major impact in many areas, and I want to see it continue. I think there is such validity and truth in the pause. Really, the more you think about it, how important it is, even pause for a moment of silence, pause, whatever it might be. There's some, if we did, life would be a lot better. We would get clarity in the 5 seconds that you might take a moment to pause.
Yes. And all of those seconds would add up then to more of a peaceful life. I mean, pause does, a friend of mine had said, same friend that had helped me with the Selah, said, I would love for you to add on to Selah and Shalom, pausing leads to peace. And it is, there is no doubt to it. There is no doubt.
It's just, yes. Inner peace. Like we're running during the day. Take a moment.
Exactly.
Ground yourself. Feel better. Almost like the reset button when you take those breaths. It's interesting how you're a life coach, but we're actually talking about a movement here to encourage people to pause, which is pretty amazing. What's the best way to find you?
You can...
You pause. I saw you pause.
Email. I did. You can go to my website, www.selahllc.net, and on there's a contact button. You can contact me through there. Otherwise, my email is jessicaniss@selahllc.net as well. So,
And
yeah.
if you're not sure how to spell it, SELAH, SelahLLC.net. Wonderful talking with you again today.
Steve, we'll see you next week sometime.
For sure. And thank you for today. I have to say it, learning your journey now and how you were asked to speak to those Marines, and I love you for it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
It was not.
We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.